Good day, this is Jamie with Garage Kings here, and welcome to the latest video. I want to thank everybody for helping us hit over 1 million views on our last one, and today we're doing another metallic floor. This one here, you can see that we've put a prime coat of black on first, and then we hit it with floor buffer, and then we cleaned it up, and now we're doing our main coat. At this house, as I'm pouring the liquid, I just want to give you a little bit of background on how we got started. We actually started doing epoxy about 5 years ago. We actually ordered a bunch of it before we even seen it before in our entire lives. And I'll never forget the first night that I actually played with the epoxy and mixed it up and put it onto a board, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life, and I've been hooked ever since. So we started with countertops, and then we worked our way to interior floors, and then actually garage was last. Is kind of the way that we started doing things. So right now I'm just dumping a bunch of different colors onto the floor. They're all similar silvers, but just different shades, just to give it more depth. So I'm getting all those out. The first thing that we did was grind the floor. You always have to either grind it or shot blast it. That's the only two ways that you're really going to get a coating to stick. And get that all cleaned up. We put our black primer down, let that cure out, and now the main coat's going to go down. On my feet I have baseball cleats, metal baseball cleats. That's how I'm able to walk on top of the liquid without worrying about getting footprints on it. You know, these coatings, I'd be going through a lot of shoes if I was actually going to walk on it. And even with epoxy shoes or cleats, it's still quite slippery, especially when you have that base layer down. Now I'm just using a magic trowel and spreading out the material to just even it out. I'm not worried about the overall look right now. The key is once you get off on the floor is to just get it spread out. That'll actually increase your working time. You do not want to leave epoxy sitting in buckets for any length of time. The more condensed the epoxy is, the faster it's going to set off, and it can actually start smoking, and you don't want to be reusing buckets either. So I'm just going back and forth, trying to make sure that the whole floor is covered with the epoxy. As it's going along, you notice the garage door in the background, and it's always neat to watch how the epoxy self-levels itself. That's one of the most amazing properties of epoxies, is they self-level themselves. So right now you can kind of see the lines reflecting against the floor, and they're clear. And then once I get past it, they're all going to be muddled. But then as the video continues, they're going to get crystal clear again. I'm putting this on really thick. It's about 30 square feet a gallon. I find that makes a huge difference in minimizing any blemishes or blisters in the floor and fisheye. If you go really thin, it could fisheye, or if any contamination gets in the floor, that causes comets or fisheyeing as well when you get contamination on the floor. So it's always really good to keep the air movement down as much as humanly possible. Fans and all that stuff isn't going to actually help it cure out. This is a chemical reaction happening, right? Epoxies are two parts, typically two A's to one B, and so when you mix them, what happens is they start curing, and they react exactly the opposite of paint. So paint, when you put it on a wall, it dries faster, it actually dries, doesn't cure, whereas chemicals like epoxy, when you put them together, the more spread out they are, the more time you have to work with them, and the more condensed they are, the faster they set off. So that's why you're always trying to get your material out as fast as humanly possible. In the beginning, a couple things I want to share with everybody. Please sign up for our Facebook page, like our channel, and we'll be doing a webinar in January where we're going to take all your questions. I'll post that on the Facebook page when it is going to be, but I'm going to answer everybody's questions, get everybody on a phone kind of thing, and go over either a video or just a lot about epoxy. So when you see that page comes up on Facebook, put all your questions underneath of it, and we'll talk about all that stuff on the webinar, any questions that you have for me. So right now, now that the floor is totally coated, I'm spending a little bit more time just making sure that the edges have product as well. Now is about doing the fine details once you have the main floor coated. You can see the garage door is raised a little bit, and there's tape to stop the epoxy from running, and I'm just making sure that I get right up to that tape line. Now they just handed me a little magic trowel, so I usually always have the 2 sizes on me to get into corners and that sort of thing. When you first get into metallics, just start with one color and just do like a solid silver floor. You don't need to go into the marbling effect of multiple colors and that sort of thing. First, just master doing one color. They always have multiple colors in them when you do it. And then once you get used to it, then you can go into the different blends of colors and that sort of thing. You might see a lot of videos with people using different tools. You know, some people use rollers. Some people use squeegees. It's just a personal preference type thing, and it depends on how many coats that you're putting down as well, and the overall look that you want to go with. Again, a lot of the times I'll stick with the magic trowel. It just doesn't put air into the coating, and depending on the epoxy that I'm using too, I don't always put a clear coat on top. It depends on the type of epoxy that I'm using. There's a lot of different brands out there. The quality is all different as well. So now I'm just doing around the edges, and as you can see, the garage door is now starting to level out the reflection on the floor. The floor is looking pretty good at this point in time. It's always good to get off the floor early and not overwork it like I've talked about before. So at the end of this video, which is coming up shortly, I'll show you some pictures of the floor after it's done. Also, please, again, check out our Facebook page, sign up to our YouTube channel, and look for that Facebook post, which is going to be coming in the coming weeks, and post all your questions for what you want me to answer on the live webinar. Thank you so much for watching our videos, and please post comments after it's done.